Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. Latest episode of River City 93 here. Elliot again off this week. So I am Matt, if you don't know my voice already. And it's a happy episode this week for a happy Memorial Day weekend. Kickers getting a 2-1 Jägermeister win down at Tormenta. And I got Chenier and Kate here to help me tell the story of how all this happened. How's your Memorial Day weekend going, y'all?
It's going good until
Thumbs up or
our
spread an
first
audio podcast, Chenier.
thumbs up from Chenier.
Oh yeah, absolutely fantastic. Billhardt's on fire. What's the chant? Your defense is terrified. Yeah.
I am not terrified. I'm elated.
Absolutely. No, it was a good weekend. Good weekend all around for soccer for me. And we had me personally, and probably Elliot too, had a bit of a surprise yesterday with Manchester United winning the FA Cup, which I thought we were going to get completely dusted and blown out. So just to cap off a pretty good weekend.
And I was losing his voice too on top of it. Lots of cheering, lots of celebrating. Kate, how's your weekend been?
It's been good. First away day in a while, probably since DC United in the Open Cup. But that wasn't as successful. We'll get to that in a separate podcast. But it was really exciting to see Kickers finally put 3 points on the board in the Jägermeister Cup. So far, we've had 0 points and we've had 2 points, but no 3 points yet. So glad to take our total to 5.
Absolutely. And next, I don't even know when the next year game is. We don't need to finish the collection with a 1-pointer. Let's keep up with the threes, maybe the twos. We'll talk more about how the table's looking a little bit later on. But yeah, so Saturday, Kickers went down to Georgia, not going for the musical pun, here because I don't remember the next line of the lyrics. But we heard after the previous game, Darren talking about they need to look at changing something up, and they did, with the lineup. So lineups come out, and we see 3 center backs out there alongside Maxey and Simon playing outside. I think all of us were a little skeptical at first of, will it actually be this? Will one of them just be a midfielder? What's it going to look like? Because as we all know, pretty much every lineup graphic that you see pregame is wrong. Whether that's Hotmob provided, whether that's USL broadcast provided. The one thing you can count on is it ain't going to be what that tells you it is. And it wasn't.
No, it's usually the way it goes. I usually don't trust the lineup too much that I see either on the screen before the game or on FOTMob. I just kind of try and see based off of what I see on the field.
Yeah, they get the players right. We'll give them that.
Yeah,
the personnel. Just maybe Simon's not playing like a left midfielder. So yeah, interesting. What are y'all's thoughts about moving to a 3-back, 5-back, whatever you like to call it, system, depending on if you like to consider Maxey and Simon defenders or technically like wing midfielders in that case?
For me, it kind of threw me off a little bit, but at the end of the day, it kind of worked out in terms of the way we played, the way the game went. For me, I feel like it kind of slowed the game down a little bit. So I don't know if that was. It seemed to be more in our favor that the game was a bit more slow paced, a little more ponderous. So I think that's what Darren is starting to go for now. Apparently, going for the slower paced game, slower tempo, so that we can control things a little more.
Yeah. I'm glad to see. I think Griffin is obviously he's been playing very, very well, but you tend to maybe lose a little bit of the height advantage when you've got one center back who's a little bit smaller, a little bit slightly more timid. So it was nice to sort of have some big bodies in the back filling in. Dak ended up sort of playing more of a defensive midfield role. Zaka was rotated for this one. It was all nice to see a little bit of rotation. We kind of talked about how something's not quite going right. Still trying to figure out what it is. So seeing a little bit of experimentation, seeing a little trying to tinker with it, you actually do something different. It was nice to see. I think we've talked about how the defense is not necessarily the problem, so I don't necessarily think needed or adding an additional defender is the long-term solution, but it was nice to see sort of a gesture at trying something new, trying something slightly differently. Clearly, something, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the end result worked out. That could be some results-based, thinking, because it's not just because the formation changed, but it's not because the formation changed, that things worked well. So just go through the lineup. We saw Pablo Jara. Sorry, apparently it's a harder J than not a complete soft J. Come back in goal. So it seems like he's taking the role we thought Shello might take initially with being the Jaeger goalie. Guy Franca, Griffin Garnett, Dakota Barnathan along the back line, Maxey and Simon as the outside backs, whatever you want to call that. James Vaughn and Suko, in kind of the central midfield this time. So kind of a return to what we were seeing from Suko last year in that role. And then, had Neil doing Neil things, Billhardt and Chandler striker once again. So let's hop right into the good stuff. We've already made reference to this, through Schneer's comment, but Adrian Billhardt had himself a day on his return to South Georgia. 27th minute. Kate, tell me the story.
Basically, he kind of does what we don't necessarily see a lot of kickers do so far this season. He took a shot. We've kind of been seeing them trying to really walk the ball into the back of the net. And sometimes it feels like he as a player says, you know what? I'm just going to hit this and I'm going to see what happens. And a lot of the times when he specifically hits it, something good happens. So we've needed that. And unfortunately, despite the results from his foot, we haven't been seeing that from other players. So yeah, he actually just kicked the ball towards the goal, even though it might have been considered a lower quality chance than the sort of build-up possession-based game we've been seeing from them a lot this season. And what do you know? Went in the goal.
Yeah. To be honest with you, when he cut inside and started driving, I kind of had that suspicion. I was like, wait a minute, he's going for a shot, because normally if they cut inside and they're going to either look for a cross or maybe a pass across the top of the 18 to maybe shift the ball, it's not with that much purpose. And I was like, oh boy, he's going to take the shot. And when he took the shot that he took, I was not expecting to go in. But looking closer, we may have gotten lucky, or Billhardt may have gotten lucky with field conditions, because if you look at the mouth of both goals, they're both mud pits. And I don't know if maybe goalkeeper didn't get his footing right, or his footing wasn't sturdy enough on that mud, and he wasn't able to really get out to get that far post shot blocked, because it was pretty savable. but it looked kind of like the goalkeeper's feet kind of slipped out from under him, and we basically got an advantage off of bad field conditions. And I'm taking it. At the end of the day, I'm taking it, and that's those are the type of situations you need to just. I know it's a very cliche statement, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and this is one of those situations that may as well go for it. We had somewhat control throughout most of this half so far, up until that point, and let's make something happen. And who knows? Maybe the goalkeeper could have gotten a save. We had bodies there that could have maybe put in a rebound. So you never know what's going to happen if the save is made, or if it's, it hits off of a defender. We had bodies. We had people in the attack. Let's make something happen. And Billhardt just took it upon himself to make something happen, and it paid off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it was a low quality shot. To be honest, he cuts in pretty much, right along the top of the 18. Gets a few good touches onto his dominant left foot and is able to whip one. I think that's a shot that if you give a professional player that kind of space, they should be putting it, on goal, or should be able to find a corner, and that's what he did. So I'm happy to give Billhardt all the credit on that one. Shout out to the official scorers too, who decided Neil deserved an assist for that. I think generous, but hey, had those stats.
Yeah, no complaints.
It's nice to see the initiative that he's taking, because sometimes it doesn't feel. I think the team has looked strong this season, much stronger than last season, and I think the passages of play. I've said this before; they're replicable, but there's just a sort of vacuum that the ball goes into once it reaches the box, where it just sort of vanishes into the ether. And it's nice to see Billhardt continue to take the initiative to just whack it sometimes, because more often than not, they've been going in for him.
Let's hold that thought. We'll cycle back to that one in a little bit. Unfortunately, it wasn't all happy thoughts. In the first half, lead only lasted about 7 minutes before it was tied up again, and I think it was, at least for me, it was that feeling of, oh, this again. So, Shanir, what did you see on this, on the Tormenta goal?
What I saw was lack of concentration off of a set piece. When that ball comes back, so for those of you that didn't see, it's a corner kick taken. The ball is halfway cleared, probably maybe 5-10 yards past the 18. They get the ball back out wide and cross it in again, and someone meets it with a pretty nice header, number 9. I'm not sure. All right, yeah. Gets a head on it, and no one's marking him. He comes into the box, into that area, and it's just one of those situations that when that ball gets cycled back out, everyone needs to stay concentrated. Everyone needs to stay focused. You've got to make sure that you stay with the player you're supposed to be marking, or you're staying with the space you're supposed to be marking. And I don't think the back line pulled out far enough, quickly enough. When that ball gets cleared the first time, that back line needs to step way up. And you need to make them have to put the ball in a position that Pablo has a better chance of getting to it than a striker does. And if a striker does get to it first, he's offside. And I don't think that was done. It was a bit willy-nilly. It was kind of all over. Everyone was kind of all over the place, kind of working their way out, and then realizing, oh, they're going to try and cross again. Let me move back, get myself in. And by the time they realize what's happening, the ball's getting crossed in. Players are flying left and right, and no one's being marked.
Yeah, Kate,
I think also, this is something we're having, again, 3 center backs, although all 3 might not have been playing center back. I think Dakota is typically sort of the head of the back line, the ones yelling to get forward, especially since Guy and Griffin are a little bit more junior. But if he's in a defensive central midfield role rather than the center back, maybe you don't have that voice telling everyone to push up. You don't have that sort of person who's in charge. You hope Jara will be that, but Jara's obviously trying to track the ball coming in back into the box and everything, so he might not have the normally that would be center back job to pull the line up. So I think possibly when you add 3 center backs into the mix, but it's not what you typically play with, maybe your marks get a little lost because you're not in your typical role. Maybe the person who's usually yelling at the back line to move up is not in the position he's usually in. So I think from that you do run the risk when you change up your defensive personnel like that. You put people in positions they aren't typically playing. One lapse in concentration, you've conceded a goal that maybe you don't concede when everyone's sort of doing their normal job.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things where it's a huge oversimplification, but it's just frustrating when we give up these headers because it's not like some of the kicker teams in the past where it was not the tallest team, shall we say. We've got some dudes out there with some size on them, so getting beat in the air again, it's not as simple as you have taller players, therefore you should clear everything out, but it doesn't mean it's not frustrating. So that took care of the score in the first half. Almost had one really, really nice goal late in the half. Kate's number one man, Chandler a striker, almost scored. I don't want to call it a pure bicycle because I don't know if he got all the way over the top for it, but man showed a little bit of flair.
Mm-hmm. I think I've been saying this. He's willing to take the shot. He's willing to take it, not overthinking it. Maybe the way that somebody else, someone who's running the percentages, the probabilities in their head about the shots they should be taking. He said, "Yeah, whack it." Although he's not maybe as pure of a ball striker as Billhardt is, so maybe to slightly less success.
Yeah, I want to kind of go back with regards to the goal we conceded. My worry was the same as yours, Matt, with regards to feeling like, okay, here we go again. But that worry was very short-lived because literally less than a minute later, Billhardt almost scored. Like Neil puts in a beautiful ball for him, and it literally brushes the side netting. Billhardt's in behind and almost scores. And then this situation, and it's kind of like you're saying, Kate, those are the moments where you just allow instinct to take over. You're in a position, you're like, I need to get this on target. If I try and turn around, it's not going to work. If I try and turn around or pass it back, opportunity's lost, and he just goes for it. And again, going back to Billhardt's goal, these are the situations we need to be more shot happy as a team. We need to take more shots. We need to take more opportunities. And those are the situations that kind of make a defense second guess themselves because you don't know when the shot's coming. Before it used to be, all right, kickers, they're going to try and pass their way through, maybe try and get across. They know when the shot's coming. Now we're looking more like a team where you never know where the chance is going to come from. And that makes it harder for defense. That's what we need more of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think taking these shots. I think we're still up to 2 guys who are willing to rip those. Adrian and Neil. But hey, that's 2 more than 0, and 2 of them went in. So we'll worry about the rest of it later. Anything else from the first half? Or are y'all ready to move into the second half chat?
I think that's pretty much it for the first half in terms of big chances.
Yeah, Trement had one before the goal started where it was just like pinging around in the box, but I don't think it ever got all the way to Pablo, at any point. So whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
We did
move into
start seeing
second half.
the stats trend of fouls being called for one team and not for the other. So that was sort of a frustrating thing to track through the first half. I don't obviously the 1-1 score line is fine, but definitely frustrating to start seeing the kickers being policed a little bit more heavily than Tormenta, despite Tormenta not necessarily playing too much cleaner of a game, which is a trend that then continued into the second half. Yeah, it was that was frustrating throughout.
That didn't really bother me. I mean, shows kickers are being aggressive, and if you get called for fouls, like when you're attacking half or whatever, I can live with that.
Yeah.
They're also being too honest. They're not going down enough. They need to be selling more contact. That's what frustrates me. Is you see a lot of teams who are willing to sell the contact in key positions, get the ball back. These refs will call anything if it looks bad enough. It doesn't even have to be that bad. But a player goes on the roll, on their waving their arms in the air, you're going to get the call a lot of the time. So it's frustrating to see honesty punished in terms of fouls.
I love that your complaint is not we're committing too many fouls. It's, we're not embellishment does not necessarily mean diving. We're not embellishing enough to sell it.
Well, yeah,
to be honest with you, I mean, you make a good point, Kate, because I still have yet to see, and I've watched quite a few USL games, not just kickers. I don't think I've seen a yellow card for simulation in USL League One yet. So, I mean, that is a thing. You can get a yellow card for simulating foul. I have not seen that happen. So, I mean,
I don't know.
Pretty sure they got Emmy a couple of times when there was like their streak of not giving him any call ever. But I definitely get your point.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the fouls kickers committed. I have an issue with the fouls Tormenta committed not being called pretty consistently throughout the first half, which continued to the second half.
Fair enough. Well, let's get to the good part of this game.
Yeah.
Coming courtesy of the left foot of Mr. Adrian Billhardt. So, 61st minute. Who wants to walk us through the glory?
I mean, I'll go ahead and walk us through it. The first thing that got me is, first and foremost, was it Ani who carried the ball forward? I think it was.
I don't remember.
Ani, like literally coming out of the back, he gets probably about 15 to 20 yards into the Tormenta half, and no one pressures him. Ball goes out to Fitch. Fitch has time to look up, cut inside a little bit, and then find Billhardt. And Billhardt, when he gets that pass, he takes a touch forward. And when he takes that touch forward, he is literally probably has within a 10-yard radius around him, 5 Tormenta players around him. No one touches him. No one steps to him. No one puts a body on him. And he says, "You're not going to touch me? All right, I'm going to go." And he just drives forward. Still no one touches him. Then he gets that shot on that ball on his left foot, and he rips one. Upper 90. 2 goalies aren't saving that. I mean, upper 90 tucked right in the corner. Beautiful strike, even with a little whip bend on it, taking it away from the goalkeeper. That is probably so far for the kicker's goal of the season.
I think it's a good debate. Goal fittingly second of the game, number 2 on SportsCenter top 10 that night. Adrian second of the game. There's a lot of good stuff. Kate, what are your thoughts as you're seeing that play out in real time?
Yeah, well, and also another 2 second kicker SportsCenter top 10 goal of the season.
There you go.
That's true.
So we got a lot of lucky 2s around this number. Again, it's a willingness to take the ball on to just whack it at the goal. Again, he's a very, very pure ball striker. I don't necessarily think every player taking that shot hits that as sweetly as he does. I think you see a lot of players who think they could take that shot on and who rocket it so far over the post. The crossbar, it's still circling in the atmosphere to this day. But when you have a player of that quality, and Neil, I think we've seen him score this type of goal as well. You see a player of that quality just have the confidence to take that shot on, because again, his confidence, his goal scoring confidence this season is going to be at an all-time high. The willingness to take that shot, the composure in the moment to make sure to get his shoulders over the ball, even though it has height on it, it's not actually skied. So there's a lot that goes into that goal, the ball hitting the back of the net there and not ending up somewhere else, or even not getting taken at all. So I think that we're very lucky that we have a player who's so confident in his goal scoring right now, who's got the skill to take the shots that he sees. Because right now we're getting awfully close to being a one-man show, which it's great. But then when he gets an injury scare, like later in the second half, all of a sudden, are we looking at a goalless streak ahead of us if he's not out there?
Yeah, it's a little bit of classic kickers in that mode, just a different flavor of it this year of who's scoring the goals. But you know what? At this moment in time, don't care. Gonna ride the happiness of someone who's just willing to absolutely slam the ball and find the top 90 from 25 yards out. Yeah, I'm down with that. So funny enough, they score when they shoot from outside the box. Ball gets inside the box. Can't kick it in the ocean for whatever reason.
Although we did get the ball in the box about 10 minutes later, keeper grabs Justin Suko's legs. Again, the honesty. Suko should have just face planted. Instead, he does keep his feet. He keeps going after the ball. His legs are yanked out of the way by the keeper, and the ball is away somehow. But astonishing that we almost had a penalty call that I guess the ref. I don't know what the ref was doing there.
I mean, Suka shortly before, probably about 5-10 minutes before the second goal, Suka also has another tussle with the goalkeeper with that shot from Neil coming in. Goalkeeper makes a save, and Suka tries to win the ball and get a rebound in, and that goalkeeper's having none of it. And there was a bit. From the camera angle that we get, you can't really see. I just saw a whole lot of legs filling and arms filling, and eventually goalkeeper gets the ball in his hand and he gets up and he's extremely upset. I don't know if it's at his back line or the referee, but I think it won goal save of the game, which no, but but yeah, no, it showed that we had numbers in the box. We had situations. We were trying to go forward. And also taking it back to Billhardt's second goal, I realized that when Billhardt starts driving forward with that ball, there's a lot of hesitation from at least two of the wide defenders, because so it was Dak who actually drove that ball forward, got it out to Simon Fish. But when he passes that ball out to Simon Fish, he continues his run forward all the way through past the 18 and then circles back around wide. And that causes two of those defenders to kind of hesitate on stepping to Billhardt, because they're like, I don't want to step to Billhardt, and Billhardt just slots it through to Dak, and Dak has the full wing to himself. So the movement off the ball from our players, even from our center backs, was really helping us in the attack. And that wasn't the only time a situation like that happened, where a movement off the ball really created some space for the player on the ball. I see a lot more of that happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I should throw out there the Tormenta keeper on Saturday. Drew Romig, former Richmond Kicker Academy player, made his debut the same game Chris Durkin did against West Brom. So glad we didn't have to fully activate Agent Romig, because Billhardt did a good enough job on his own.
Yeah.
Also had a couple kickers return for the Kickers, on Saturday. So long-awaited season debut for Nathan Awney, coming in, as a sub, for Griffin Garnett, and Tony Pineda, to come back. I think first game for him since what was it, the first Open Cup game?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, two more bodies that are nominally healthy if they're seeing minutes, right? And knowing how we'll call it Darren's preferred short bench so far this year, I think that can only help the cause moving forward.
Yeah. Definitely.
Anything from either of their plays stand out for either of you?
I think when Ani came in, he was solid. I don't think he had too much to do when he came on, but it's good to know that we have a veteran back healthy and ready to play, and we know how well Dak and Ani work together, and from the past couple of years, um, they know each other. They know how to work together. They have a great partnership. And if we were to have a back line, if he wants to stick with the three, have a back line of those two and Garnett, I'm happy with that, because I mean that kid has really been showing that if you're good enough to play, you're old enough to play. So and also it would be good for him as well, being paired up with the likes of Ani and Dak in the back with him to guide him through and to basically be his mentors back there in live action. I think that would be a very good thing for the present and the future for the Kickers.
Yes, and also welcome back long throw Nathan Ani. We didn't see a long throw because they were really working that time wasting with the shorteners to Bajwa, but we finally have that option back, which has been a sort of a secret weapon from an offensive perspective. And now we might actually have multiple very tall players in the box to be on the end of them as well. So that's an exciting sort of the dimension that kickers have relied on in the past that obviously has not necessarily been an option. We've had a few players who've taken long throws, but I don't think anybody has quite the distance that Ani does in their arms. And and Tony Pineda, it's nice to see him out there. He's a dribbly little fellow. And it was nice to see him graft in and picking up a yellow card right there at the end, kind of putting it, despite coming from injury, still kind of getting stuck in on the tackles and kind of doing everything he can to make sure that ball wasn't getting through.
Yeah, the one thing I can especially remember from Ani's performance was him jawing at the ref a lot after Billhardt got hacked down, and I'm a big believer that every team needs a guy or two like that. That's just on the field, not a nice dude, and off the field, Ani seems like the nicest guy in the world. On the field, he seems like close to world class a-hole, and I love it. Right, so he was getting right up in there. Looks like he hasn't missed a beat at all. When at least when it comes to working the refs. Yeah. So before the game ended, one last big moment took place. Pablo got to play the hero on his grand return to Tormenta. Had a really big save. I want to say it was like 86th, 87th minute when Tormenta so in awe of all the things that Billhardt was doing, tried their own long shot. Pablo's like, no, we're not doing this here. And he pulls out a really quality save. I mean, I think that I know for me that had been one of my criticisms of him early on, was that okay, he was making the saves he was supposed to, but wasn't really doing anything noteworthy or special. And this is one that saved at least 1 point for the Kickers, kept them out of the penalties.
Yeah, and good to see someone who's competing for the number one spot. I bet he has that in the back of his mind as well, to know that he's got that shot stopping in him as well, making the case like, yeah, you can't drop me that easily. I'll still make my mark in this game as well, positive mark in this game.
Yeah,
absolutely. Do you suppose? Well, I guess all of our former Tormenta players, because it's like half the team now. What do you think their reaction is when they actually go back to South Georgia after getting to live in Richmond after getting to play in City Stadium, and they go back to, I don't know what the name of the stadium. We're just going to call it Tormenta Stadium for lack of anything else. And stadium, I think, is maybe a very loose term.
Yeah, whole side of it is just a whole bunch of dirt. It looks like the beginning of a construction site, and it's work in progress.
There was the ball skipped over the advertising boards at one point, and the resulting splash was so tall you could actually see the water splashing up from behind the advertising boards. So some poor stadium staff member had to clomp on back there, wade through the puddles to excavate that ball out, toss it to the poor ball kid who was looking at it, dripping his hands. City Stadium's got to look like a palace in comparison.
Yeah. I just don't understand how that stadium's been open for almost 2 years now. How does that still just look like that on the one end? Like, yeah, the other end has like the model home, looking, rental office or whatever that is, right there by the comically oversized, video board. I also want to know why everybody was sitting in just those two sections and like nowhere else on the bleachers either. Like, what's going on
Supporters
there?
group smoked out the bounce houses at one point after their goal.
Oh, that's just
move,
cool.
guys. Not the move.
No,
that's kind of cool, actually. I'm okay with that one. Yeah.
Oh boy.
No, this is just our opportunity to take copious cheap shots at, that place that Tormenta plays.
No, we did a deep dive. I will say, when we were driving up to the Ivy game, we did a deep dive on the sights and sounds of Statesboro, Georgia, and for the nature lovers, I think there's a lot to enjoy, and that's about it. We checked out what was around the stadium and some Tropical Island Cafe, sports clips.
Yeah,
so really,
as somebody who went to an away game there a couple years ago, haven't been back. And my buddy who I went to the game with, this is before when they're at the old stadium, just kind of looks at me, he's like, "How do they make money?" Not sure they're doing a lot of that.
Not much.
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah.
We will slowly lure every member of the 2022 league winning team to Richmond, Virginia. Keziah Sterling, you are next. You think you have escaped by moving to U.S. Championship? You have not escaped. Richmond is inevitable, Keziah.
All right.
No, we are.
Right.
We are.
But anybody else like to take any other cheap shots at Statesboro before we move along?
No, I think I do.
All right. Well, yeah. So kickers win. That's a happy phrase. One.
Yeah.
Haven't said as much lately. I loved that the announcer kept on bringing up, repeatedly how long it had been since we won. But as much as we are crapping on Statesboro, this team thrives down there. Now 7 in a row without a loss in South Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's impressive anywhere, right? So for whatever reason, they do well there. They do well going down to Greenville and playing that, that monstrosity of a football stadium. Got some good, road locations for the team where they seem to play very comfortably, very well at this point.
Yeah.
And also, kickers just seem to score nasty goals down in Tormenta. You got Billhardt today. It's Suko scoring the Olympico last year. You had Joe Gallardo scoring the one that just probably two that just stole the souls of them back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of fun stuff. Other than just when you leave the stadium, there's just nothing good there. All right, so this puts the Kickers into second place in the group. Now on 5 points in the East Division, 1 point behind Greenville, who dropped 1 point because they went to penalties against Spokane. Unfortunately, they won their penalties this time around. So, moving closer, to the goal. only have 3 goals scored, so I think they're well down the table, for the wild card right now. So I think it probably is division or bust at this point, unless they really have like a 3 or 4 goal outburst in one of the upcoming Jaeger games. But hey, in with a shot.
Absolutely.
2 goals is better than 1.
Especially when they only have 1. All right. Any last thoughts or comments about the trip down to Georgia?
I wish Adrian could have celebrated. I understand the whole won't celebrate against my old team gimmick, but that's what it is, a gimmick. He deserved to be able to celebrate that one, especially that second one.
Yeah. The first one.
We would have clapped. We were clapping for you, Adrian. We wanted you to celebrate.
Yeah. First one, if you don't want to celebrate that, okay. The second one, you deserve to lose your damn mind on that.
Oh no, definitely, absolutely. The second one, I'd hang that unwritten rule. I'd be celebrating like crazy.
Yeah. Shanir, any final thoughts on that one from you?
Billhardt's on fire. But apart from that, I think the team did very well as a whole. Defensively, we held things down pretty well. Apart from that lack of concentration during the goal that South Georgia scored. The movement off the ball when we were in possession was really helpful. We created some great chances, and if we continue to create those chances, it's just going to mean more goals because more repetitions, more times we're taking shots on target, the better our front players are going to be able to find the back of the net. So I'd just say keep going the way we are going.
Absolutely, and I'm intrigued to see this 3 center back system going. I think it helps the midfielders out quite a bit because it gives, in this case, James and Suko a little bit added protection, added help there, and would love to be able to see this carry forward on Saturday at Knoxville. So rematch from what was that, probably 3 weeks ago now, when they came City Stadium, and that man again, Adrian Billhardt, scored.
Mm-hmm.
So a little more dramatic, scoring with his head, in stoppage time to be able to rescue a point then. But for whatever reason, this team seems to have a little bit of a knack for some away games early on this year. Maybe they go down to Knoxville and do something nice. What would y'all like to see out of this game other than the obvious answer of a win?
More shots from outside the box. More shots, period. Just shoot. Make teams uncomfortable when we're attacking. Don't be predictable on the attack.
Yeah, agree. Please, more shooting and more shooting from people who aren't Adrian Billhardt. Obviously, we're loving the goals that are coming, but when we've seen what happens when you are too reliant on one player for your goals, he's obviously becoming a target, both just from getting marked out of the game or harder tackles. So inevitably, players who become a sort of talisman run the risk of more injury. So getting too reliant on one player to not just score but also bail us out is not super. That doesn't bode well for long-term success. It's great in the short term, but need some more players stepping up, getting amongst the goals.
Yeah, and I think what I would add is I would love to see statistical production from whoever it is in the center forward slot. Whether that's Chandler playing there, whether that's Sierikowski, whether that's Bashua, whether that's Simmons, option 5 that we don't even know about yet. I think if we can even get that position going a little bit, that can really help to open things up for Neil, open things up for Billhardt, and hopefully make things a little bit more dynamic. So, because I think right now, Sierikowski has the 1 goal playing in that position against Greenville, and I don't know if we have anyone else who's scored from that position all year.
Not
I
recently.
think, yeah, because I think Chandler was playing winger when he was on his hot streak. So, all right. Well, this has been a fun episode of talking about the Richmond Kickers. Right? I think
I want more. I want more.
I think we should do these more, right?
Yeah, we need to do these more.
Absolutely. So, again, next game Saturday. It's away in Knoxville, so that's like what 6-hour drive. Anybody is inspired enough, to make the trip. If not, I'm sure there's going to be a watch party somewhere for it. Ivy game in the afternoon that day. Is there a national team game in the middle or something like that?
Soccer Day, RVA, 2 p.m. at City Stadium. The Ivy play Christos. Then 5 p.m. the women's national team plays China, I believe. And 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. Kickers play Knoxville. Those two screen games will be at 3-notched.
Thank you, Kate, for actually knowing the information that I probably should have looked up ahead of time.
Yeah.
All right. Any final words, final thoughts before we shut this one down?
Go Kickers.
Yeah. Go Kickers.
Agree. We can all agree. Go Kickers. So thank everybody for listening. Please, give us a follow. I don't even know what the proper terms are. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow on the social media channels. I think it's River City 93, probably everywhere, if I remember correctly. So, Twitter, Instagram. I don't know what else we even have at this point. But give us a follow, give us a like, subscribe, all that, fun social media stuff. Appreciate everybody listening. Look forward to seeing y'all back here next week for another fun episode of River City 93. Have a good one, everybody.